It is currently 10 o'clock at night. I just got back from the colorful stage, the movie, A Miku Who Can't Sing. And, well, this was quite an experience.
教えてほしい歌をミクこの街に来て出会った思いを届けられる人たち違う世界のミクか呼びかけていた届けたい人たちにでも私の歌は誰にも届かない走り出す未来のすぐそばでそれなら私たちで代わりにミクちゃんが
Okay, so the plot synopsis on IMDb is just one sentence long, and it's probably because this is a fairly recent movie, but the plot description just says, Shibuya teen musician Ichika meets Hatsune Miku after hearing her song in a store. The pair work together to help Miku forge emotional connections through music. Now, as of note, this might be a bit of a shorter review this time around because there's really not a whole lot to go over this time, and since it's a relatively recent movie, and as far as I can tell, there's no specific date released as for when it's supposed to come to streaming or some kind of DVD or Blu-ray release yet. Apparently the day this video goes up is the last chance you'll get to see it in a theater, and usually it plays around 7, so if you're done with all your Easter family activities, feel free to go see this movie if you get the chance and if it's in your area. I'm going to try and keep this relatively short, and well, another key reason for that is because I actually am not all too familiar with Colorful Stage as a franchise. I do know a little bit about it. I know that it's basically an isekai of sorts, and that you have a bunch of different groups of musical acts, a bunch of different young people who are into music, and each group has their own specific version of Hatsune Miku. I've already done a video talking about Hatsune Miku. Hatsune Miku has been around since 2007. I think a lot of people know who she is. Even if you're not familiar with anime or Japanese culture, or especially Japanese pop culture and idol culture, I think everyone at some point knows who Hatsune Miku is. They've definitely seen her at least once, whether it was some kind of weird ad video featuring her from Japan, or seeing cosplayers of her, or Hatsune Miku merch at various different pop culture conventions. You know who she is. She's the girl who's obsessed with leeks, has light blue hair, pigtails, and speaks in a kind of robotic tone. And that is basically present all throughout this movie. You have these different groups of musicians, all of which have a very different, unique style. You have one that's more kind of punk themed, and they're all about, the kind of b-boying and spray paint. And then you got one that's more of the typical, like, Japanese girl pop kind of act. And then you got the one that's a little bit more gloomy and serious and moody, and one that's a little more theatrical and musical. A bunch of these different musical acts. They're all brought together because they come across a Hatsune Miku through their phone that sometimes leaps into their reality. And this Miku seems very glum because she says that she can't bring the world together. She can't seem to motivate people, even though that's what she really wants to do with her music. She asks them to teach her to sing, and she has this one song, which of course comes around in the third act, but she has this one song that she ends up bonding over with all these different groups, and at first it seems to be going pretty well. But then what happens is, well, it ends up not working, and she keeps coming across a bunch of different people all around the world who are just not motivated in what they're trying to accomplish, whether it's a girl taking a test or a guy who can't get motivated to do digital art, or a guy who gave up his passion for singing. This version of Miku's whole drive and passion is to try and help motivate other people to follow their passion, but it seems that her song isn't getting through. And she comes from a Sakai, or alternate reality. The Sakai that this Miku comes from is slowly crumbling around her, and eventually all this negativity starts festering and boiling into this big blob, this gelatinous kind of mass that ends up breaking through from her reality into the real world. And it basically destroys a bunch of stuff in its wake, causes a huge power outage for the real world, But the people who have come to know this version of Miku notice that not only she seems to not be showing up, also their respective versions of Miku, all these alternate versions of her, they've disappeared. And every time they try to play some of Miku's songs, whether it's on their, musical apps, like what we can only assume is Spotify, but they didn't have the legal rights to use that, and look up music videos of her on YouTube, they're not getting any of it. That she's just gone. The world is now Hatsune Miku-less. I gotta say, the scene where this darkness is swelling through not just this Miku's realm, but also the real world and all these other Sakais where all these other Mikus reside, in a weird way, it was kind of reminding me a little bit of the Neverending Story with the Nothing. It was just this big otherworldly force that was sucking away all the joy in the world. And, that's pretty much what they do in this movie. But when they actually said the darkness and giving it a term, it kind of reminded me of the Nothing from Neverending Story. So this is the motivating factor for all these groups to, in some way, come together. Not really directly. There are times where they do come across each other, specifically when they're in this Miku's Sakai. But for the most part, I kind of like the fact that all these groups are off doing their own thing, and they've all come to know this version of Miku, and they want to help spread her message to help people and motivate people to follow their dreams and follow their passions and reach so many different groups of people. And it ends up working because, of course, they all put their all into writing original songs, which are definitely going to get stuck in my head. I've been binging a lot of Japanese music as of late, and let me tell you, I will admit, a lot of the songs in this movie are really catchy. Especially the fucking Miku song. They kept hinting at it all throughout the movie. And then when they actually have the big celebration at the end where, hooray, this version of Miku has finally succeeded in her lifelong dream of trying to motivate other people to follow their passion and never give up hope. She ends up coming back, and they have her sweep across Japan, and there's parts where she's like flying across billboards and like digital street signs, and she's flying down over the crowd. That song will get stuck in your head. Not that they're really major characters in the movie, but they also found a way to use some of the other Vocaloid characters, and of course, just like with Miku, there's a bunch of different versions of them as well. They don't really get a whole lot of screen time, and that might disappoint you, maybe, if you're into the whole Vocaloid scene, but honestly, they use them sparingly, and I kind of like what they did with them. Each version of them gets their own little time to shine. Specifically, Kaito, I thought there was a pretty sweet scene where one of them says that he wishes he could have helped save Miku, and then she says something along the lines of, what are you talking about? I'm here and I'm feeling better than ever, which is pretty sweet. Ultimately, this Miku has succeeded because of all these different groups of musicians, and they see that her realm is now fixed, which that's the other thing. I really liked her version of a Sakai. When you first see it, it's like a bunch of windows floating around in darkness, and there's like a bunch of like crumbled ash from what we can only assume are like, a bunch of windows that crashed, and they also keep cracking. And at first you don't really know what these things are. They're kind of shaped like picture frames, but then eventually later on you see them start to come back to their original form, and they all make zeros and ones, kind of like the designation on Miku's arm, which I thought was a neat touch. But I really liked it. It was very kind of otherworldly. They did a good job with that. There are these scenes where you have Miku kind of swimming around in code, which I thought was pretty unique. Lots of really good visuals. When they have a lot more like really out there kind of visuals, like most of the movie is animated really well, but those scenes in particular, those kind of like fantastical sequences where you have like different animation styles going on, I think that was some of my favorite stuff in the movie. And then at the end of the movie, when this Sakai is back to normal and this Miku has to say her goodbyes to, her new group of friends because her mission is completed, I liked that they sort of made it look like a more fantastical, whimsical version. It's kind of like a ballroom in a way. I really liked how that was designed. We weren't in that big of a theater, but it was pretty packed. And of course you had people wearing their Hatsune Miku merch. You had girls carrying Hatsune Miku plushies. And every once in a while you had some scattered applause every time they finished a song in the movie. In other words, it's exactly what I'd expect from a Hatsune Miku movie. Before the movie started, There weren't a whole lot of trailers. I don't really like to talk that much about them, but we didn't have that many trailers. They showed the trailers for the live action How to Train Your Dragon, which I've never seen. That was the first time I saw that trailer. Then after that was that Disney Pixar alien movie. I keep forgetting what it's called. It's like Elio. I don't know how to pronounce it. They also showed the Superman trailer. Forgot to mention that, but yeah, that was another one they showed. And they showed a little bit of a Demon Slayer movie. So who knows? Well, who knows what that will entail? And then there was a bunch of commercials from Regal promoting them re-showing a bunch of classic Studio Ghibli movies. And they also showed a commercial for an upcoming concert that Hatsune Miku was going to be a part of. So that was pretty neat. And a bunch of other stuff in between, like, commercials for Regal itself and yada yada. There wasn't really that many movie trailers like I was expecting. Even when I went to see the Spy Family movie last year, which I will do a video on Spy Family soon enough, just you wait. But when I went to see the movie for that last year, they actually showed a decent amount of movie trailers and commercials for upcoming anime, but we didn't really get a whole lot of that here. But anyway, before the movie started, there is a screen that says, Colorful Stage the Movie, a Miku Who Can't Sing after show. So there was something to look forward to. There was a little Marvel post-credits scene that they were prepping for. So, like a lot of other people in the theater, I don't think I heard a single person get up and leave the theater at this point. Which again, the theater wasn't even that big. It was a relatively small theater, but it was pretty fucking packed. And everybody was there pretty excited, and, every once in a while you get the scattered applause after a song happened. There was a standing ovation after the movie. As soon as the credits started going, there was, just uproarious applause from the movie once it was over. But there was people basically waiting in the theater to see what this after show was, which there is a post-credit scene that basically leads into it. But it's basically Miku, this Miku in her ballroom Sakai, turning around, and she says something, I forget exactly what it was, but it was something like, "Oh, I thought I'd see you again," or something. And then it fades to black, and then it shows the screen that says the movie's logo, and then after show at the bottom. And then Miku's voice pops in, and she says like, "Hi, it's me, Hatsune Miku. What did you think of the movie?" Then basically what you get is a 3D concert, essentially. Not an actual 3D. Even though it was an IMAX theater they were showing it in. Big ass screen, holy crap. But they were showing basically it was just a static image of a concert between Miku and some of the other Vocaloids. And they were singing the song. The entire thing is stationary. It was fine. If you wanted to hear that earworm of a song again, this was your chance, because they showed it a bunch, and this was basically the encore for that song. And then once they're done singing the song, it fades to black again, and then it fades back into the same shot, but it's just Miku by herself, and she says something about "Don't forget to come back," or something. Fades to black again, and then just movie subtitled by so and so, and then I think it has this movie is rated PG for blah 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 blah, and then that was it. And then the screen went black, lights went up, everybody got up and left, and there was a lot of people saying that they enjoyed it, which I'm glad, because overall, final thoughts, I would say I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that it's a great movie or anything, and again, I feel like this is definitely something made for the Colorful Stage crowd. I feel like this is definitely more for them. But as someone who's only vaguely familiar with Colorful Stage, wants to get into it, but, is just kind of at the filthy casual stage of things, I still really enjoyed this movie. The thing that I appreciated the most was the message. And if a movie has a good message, that's all fine and good. But I really did appreciate what this movie was trying to say about having passion in what you do and never giving up on your dreams. I actually thought they did it in a very emotional, very convincing way. They did it in a way that was mature, but also still fairly lighthearted, going along with what happens in the movie. Tonally, the movie is very consistent. There's never any part that feels like it's either being too silly or too dumb, or too heavy-handed and too preachy or serious. I feel like this movie was consistent with its tone. There was still a decent handful of funny moments in between. I laughed at a couple of things, as well as a bunch of other people in the audience. And it was stuff that was supposed to be funny, so yeah, I did appreciate that. And the audience that I saw it with was very respectful. Nobody was like talking out loud or being annoying. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's for everybody. Then again, you know, take it from me. My taste in anime is very bizarre. I did positive reviews of stuff like Pop Team Epic and Dropkick on My Devil and My Dear Friend Noko-tan. But either way, I feel like if you're looking for a Hatsune Miku movie, this movie, it has enough Miku in it. You're probably going to enjoy that. It's not a perfect movie. It's not groundbreaking. It's not going to win any awards. It's not Studio Ghibli or anything. But for what it is, I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. And there really wasn't anything in it for me to criticize too heavily or found, like, objectionable. And I lost, especially after some of the other movies I had to watch, compared to fucking Meet the Deedles and Josh and Sam. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna go for the Hatsune Miku movie. Fuck that shit. I'm gonna go for this one. This one was genuinely entertaining all the way through. Anyways, guys, that does it for Blockbusters in April. Look forward to 3 new Blockbuster show videos coming up next month in May. And not entirely sure what we're gonna be doing, but I will promise you'll get 3 new Blockbuster reviews for next month. But whatever we're gonna be talking about next month. Until then, guys, I am Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
ご注文受けてあります。早く頼み早く飲み早くお帰りください。他の客様もご迷惑になりますので。こいつ。
ねルバールねえよ肉たこ焼きフランクフルト
ソフトクリーム
サービスオリオカレオにはラテのトールサイズエスプレッソを5ペチャなんで唯一ちゃんと注文できるんだよね